You're watching The Voice of Houston right here on UHN with myself, Dr. Clara Brent, and also Dr. Bobby Mills as the co-host. Well, The Voice of Houston. But I was thinking about our children it's been on my heart, how our children are just killing themselves. Suicide in the black race has not been very popular, and it's a lot of children that's being bullied, and they don't know how to handle this thing, and
So you're saying that
they're killing themselves
suicide is on the rise, and
in the black
the question
community.
is why?
Yes.
Well, external living will bring about confusion, and confusion is of the devil. So consequently, a lot of our children are growing up in confused environments, whether it's in their immediate families or the communities in which they live, or even the schools that they attend.
That's where where most of it is is happening from the bullying in the public schools, especially since they are being integrated. And I was watching just the other day, a special was on, and the mother came on and said she had a child and didn't even think she was going to be able to have a child. And she did have a child. And she named him Seven. Perfect name, perfect number. And Seven grew up to be a beautiful young boy, around about 9 years old. When he started school, he was 6. And the first day he was in school, they called him a nigger. The second day he went back to school, they made fun of him because he was not big and tall like most black boys are. And it continued. And he told his mother about the situation, what was going on in the schools, what the teachers were not doing. He reported it to the teacher, and the teacher didn't do anything about it. And he kept telling his mother, and she said, I'm going to go there and see what is going on with this bullying that's going on with you. And on the bus was the biggest issue. They would take him and grab him by the neck and almost choke him and different things like that. And he would tell his mother about it, and she kept promising she was going to go to the school and reported what he had been telling her. The baby just killed himself because it wasn't enough. The emergency wasn't there. So we take for granted.
You know, a lot of what you are describing is basically the inability of the mother to be a mother and a parent, and to take control of a situation that her son continually brought to her about the school environment in which he was functioning. So a lot of that is on her, and I know she's probably carrying a lot of guilt today.
Well, I don't think I think she, what it was, I believe that by working, that's the whole point of the matter. Have to work.
Well,
have to go to work.
But
have to make ends meet.
But that's not an excuse.
Yes, that's the biggest excuse people use because first of all, you got to make a living. And you got to see that house is taken care of, food is on the table, clothes on your back. And
all of that is important, Dr. Brent, but you got to take into consideration that if a child comes to you consistently telling you about difficulty that they're having in a school environment and they're emotionally traumatized, and you can't find a way to go to the school and address that issue, that's on you, because what's more important?
Well, then again,
You know,
there was
is the
another one.
well-being of your child more important to you or less important to you than it is for you to be able to go? You don't have the kind of relationship on your job where you can go to your supervisor or your boss and talk to your boss
Not
and
really.
tell your boss that your child is having difficulty,
Not really.
and you have to take, you know, some time away from your responsibilities on the job to see after your child. I mean, what employer would not have some kind of compassion and decency?
just like the schools
for-
do not have some kind of decency and compassion
Well, she
for
didn't
our
go to the
children.
school.
They should have someone in place in these public schools that child can go
Well,
to.
I'm sure they do,
No,
but-
they
but
don't.
here's
They
what you're
don't do
saying,
it. They
though.
don't do it the way they ought to do it. They are not having enough compassion, enough love is not shown for that child. That child needs a someone to speak to that will move, not necessarily having what you call it, words on paper. That's a good one. Words on paper, not necessarily having words on paper. We'll do this, we'll do that, we'll do this, and this is if this is done, this is how it's going to be. No, we as people of the community should stand by those parents to see that these schools who are integrated, because most of it is coming from the white child of the bullying. The bullying is coming from the white children.
But
They're
Dr.
calling them
Grant,
out of their names. They are misusing their ability to fight back. Because first of all, black children are the ones that seems like everybody is against. They don't give them a chance to explain themselves. They don't give them a chance to talk. They just if a black child says something out of order, that means that child is no good. That child has no upbringing. That child has nothing good about that child. That is wrong.
But again,
White children
Dr.
do the
Grant,
same thing. They do the same thing. They act out. They act crazy. They do things crazily. But they have a way in that system that they will overlook what they do. But when it comes down to the black child, you sending them home for a little old simple stuff, like talking back to you.
Well, Dr.
I mean,
we
and
know.
then you have no black people in office. You have
Well-
in the office they're there, but they're not doing what they ought to do. They're just about as worse as the white people are.
Well, in HISD, you're talking about a large number of not only the student body being black and Hispanic, but the administrators as well, and people who are in key positions. But that's not my point. My point is that we have a society in the 21st century where parenting has broken down. And a lot of times we want to place the blame on external kinds of institutional factors when the problem is at home. It's in our homes. Now,
I don't
it is
see
no
it
way
that-
in
I
the
can't
world
see it that
I would
way.
have a child. I'll give you a
This mother-
situation that
okay, go ahead.
occurred
Then I'll
with
tell
my
you.
family, my wife and I. My daughter, when she was in school, 4th grade, she was a pretty smart student. They had her in a advanced class, 4th grade advanced class. But the teacher was a throwed off male. My wife and I, we decided that even though our daughter was advanced and we were going to be in the advanced 4th grade class, we didn't want no throwed off male teaching her because all he was going to do is let them be playing and doing whatever they wanted to do, and she was not going to be getting basic instruction and skills and discipline. There was another, and it didn't come down to nothing about white, because the white man, male fourth grade teacher, was a white male, and the other fourth grade teacher was a white female. So it wasn't nothing about no skin color. Only thing we wanted was to make sure that our child was going to learn the proper skills and get the proper foundation.
Well, the skin color is being shown toward these children, though,
So-
from other children. That's what I'm saying.
So what ended up happening with my wife and I told my wife, hey, you going to work. I'm going to the school. I go up there, the principal is white, and the two teachers involved in the situation are white. So I tell him, I said, well, look, my wife and I, we have decided that even though our daughter is in the advanced fourth grade, we would rather have her with the basic class, with the teacher who's going to discipline her and teach her. Oh, no, you can't come up here and run the school. This is what the white man tell us. You can't come up here and run the school and tell us what to do and blah, blah, blah. And, you can take your daughter home and all that and blah, blah, blah. So, I took my daughter on home and I said, okay, I'll show you. So I go down to the school board, go to the superintendent's office, ask for a meeting. I said, now, y'all got a crazy principal over there at the school. I'm looking out for the best interest of my daughter, and he's telling me that I can't come there and run no school. And I ain't trying to run the school. He's the principal, don't want to run the school. We have a situation where you got a fourth grade teacher who is a male, throwed off, teaching fourth graders, the advanced class, the so-called top-of-the-line students, and he's not going to do anything with them, let them play and do whatever they want to do and all this kind of old, and they're not going to learn no basic skills.
So what you do? You went to the school board?
Went to the superintendents.
Oh, you didn't go to the school board?
I went straight to the superintendent.
Oh, well, how about
Superintendent
that?
called the principal, and the next thing you know, they called us, found out who we were. Oh, yeah, they so and so and so and so. Told her, hey, look here, man, you better put that man's daughter in the class he wants her in. Forget about all this stuff you talking about, she's advanced and all that
right.
and so forth. I go back to the school the next day. White man look at me and tell me, you think you somebody so and so and so and so. I said, no, God is somebody.
All right.
That's who somebody.
But
God is somebody.
But what about
what
the
I'm
parent?
trying to tell you is parents have to take responsibility.
But there
for
are
their
parents that
children,
are
and-
taking responsibility
Well,
on
you just
this
got
on
to
the
say
same.
it, Dr.
But it's
Brandon,
on the
this
same
way.
show, on the same.
You just got to say it, but this lady did not even take off from work. She was so concerned about her job and all that instead of going to her supervisor. I'm sure if she had gone to her supervisor and told her, look, my child is being bullied at school. And he's
But you know what?
traumatized.
A lot of parents take for granted that everything is going to be all right. It's gonna work out. That they have people in place that really care about children in the public school.
Well, they
Parents
do in
look
some
at that
instances.
and they don't really.
But
and
as
they
a
teach
parent,
the
you
child.
still gotta show that you
They
care
teach the
about
child
your
well, you
child.
have to forgive. You teach your child don't fight back because they might do this and all that. And you telling the child what to do, but it's not working with inside of the school what they ought to do. And I'm not
I'm
saying
also
that it's the
saying
parents' fault altogether.
No, I'm not saying
figure
that
it's
either. What I'm saying is that you cannot blame
well, I'm not
the
blaming
school
it. And neither I don't think.
when the parent took no initiative and no responsibility for seeing after the well-being of her own child.
Well,
So she got to show a lot of responsibility for
and do
why
you
her
think that would
child
have saved
committed
his
suicide.
life? That would have saved his life.
Probably if she had gone to that school
now this
and
is
dealt with that situation.
What about the parent that did go to the school, did follow up behind her child, Her daughter.
The child probably not dead.
Oh, yes, she is.
No, the one,
Yeah.
what you talking about,
Yeah,
but the
the-
other children.
No, I'm talking about this child on the same program. That this child killed herself because
Yeah, but that's the one child you talking about whose parent didn't go.
no, it's also one parent that did do
And
exactly.
that child killed herself.
And the child still kills herself, not because of what the parent had not done. It was what the school had not done. They had overlooked all of the things that were causing her depression. I say
Well,
depression,
it's-
causing all the
something
things that's
going
going
on.
on. Bullying at school is a
It's a
serious.
problem. Sure,
It's a
problem.
serious problem. It's a serious problem.
also
It's
what's
supposed to-
going on in a
racism
lot of
is a
people.
more serious problem in these schools that don't have proper understanding and
There's one thing we
about
know: racism is going to be here until Jesus returns. Now,
I'm still saying
it's been
we
here
can
from-
we can still bring it to their attention that this
Well, but the
racism
thing
message.
about it is-
but you cannot have a
But
child
what-
don't understand
what-
what's going on.
What parents are going to have to do is you got to teach your children to have positive attitudes and feelings
When they
about
calling
themselves.
them, when they calling them niggers, when they
Well, you
talking
know,
about
but
it,
look
they
here, when
hitting
we
you
were
all
coming
side your
along,
head while
look
your
here,
head is turned on the
When
bus and
when
all
you and
that.
I, Dr. Brent,
But
was
these
coming
are
along,
little children. These are
look,
babies.
Dr. Brent, when you and I was coming along, it was worse. The white folk had the signs up.
No.
Everywhere you
We
went.
were going to school with each other.
Yeah, but what I'm
I mean,
saying,
and
even
the
in
wives was at
society-
their schoolhouse and we were at ours.
Yeah,
That's the difference.
yeah, but
Mm-hmm.
still, in terms of the society, you still experienced the racism and all that, but you didn't get into thinking about we didn't think about white people that way.
No.
Because the only thing,
Because
look
we
here,
were among ourselves.
we would tell white kids a lot of times, we would play together. We would tell them, hey, look here, don't call me out of my name. You know my name, I know your name. Don't call me. And we played together. We played with white kids. My cousins and I, we played with them.
Well, that was a good
And
on
we
your part,
told
'cause we
them,
didn't.
look here, don't you call me out. I'm not going to call you out of your name. I know your name, you know my name. And one day, Roy Miller, we used to play with a family by the name of the Millers. And the little guy was Roy. We'd all play together, shoot marbles together, go down to the swimming hole together and all that. And he messed around and called us a nigger one day. We told him no name calling. We're not gonna call you a cracker. Don't you call us no nigger. He called us a nigger. My cousin was a little larger than me at the time. He grabbed him and held him over. He said, Bob, kick his behind. I put my foot square in his behind. He went home crying to his mother and all of that. His mother came
said,
out
"Well,
there.
you didn't end up in the
and
river."
said, well, what happened? We said, Miss Miller, we had a code. And our code was no one would call each other out of their name. He broke the code. She looked at her son and said, hey, you got what you deserve. That was
Well,
the end.
that was a good white lady.
Yeah, that was the end of
To
it.
tell the truth, because honey,
they didn't get
I've known
involved.
some to
You
go
know, a
and
lot
get
of
the
those
husband
even
and
white
everything
parents
else.
back then, they didn't get involved in that kind of stuff and so forth. But what I'm saying is, a lot of these parents now, black parents, they're so busy hustling and bustling and going on and dealing with materialistic crap and all of that. They're not taking time for their children and going to schools and seeing about going to the PTO meeting, getting involved in the PTO.
I'm not
Going
saying.
into your
I'm saying
child's
there was a
classroom and
parent
checking
that
on your
did do
kids
all of this in our
and
child,
helping them with their
and they were
schoolwork
still were
and all
not
that and
listening
so forth.
because you got the teachers that are not showing any kind of concern or love. You do not have. Children will act up. This is what I'm saying. Children will act up. Children will be mischievous. But to still to understand why they are being mischievous is because they are children. That's the whole issue. And then you don't let children be adults when they are just children. And you understand that they are to be forgiven, not giving them a hard time because they call each other out their name. But the issue is that if you call me out my name, I ought to be able to defend myself. And I can't defend myself because
the thing about it is
that's the whole issue. See, you were able to defend yourself.
No, that's not what we dealt with. When we were coming along, we would tell folks straight up and down.
But see that they've applied laws in these schools.
Words.
They've applied laws in these schools that that's not helping us.
We tell words one thing, but sticks and stones hurting our bones. So, we didn't really care about people saying things. But when you had a code, see, that's the way we dealt with it. Don't break the code.
When you have a code,
we wasn't calling each other racial names. That was our code.
Yeah, that was your code. But what our children doing? What is going to happen with our children now? Because most of the time we might have played. I didn't play with white girls or whatever, but we might have had differences in the public way. But when it came down to school, we were in school with our own black children, people, teachers, and everybody was black. Now we don't have everybody black. Everybody all of them might be different nationalities and who our children are and what they are capable of being and doing. And they just like any other child. That's all I'm saying. They like any other child. And by them being any other child, every other child, treat them less such. Don't treat them any kind of way. Don't send them to detention.
Given the situation now where you have a more multicultural environment that young people are educated in, it's more incumbent upon parents to be the guiding force and more involved in the educational development of their children as well as the development mentally, spiritually, and socially of their children. And from what you described earlier with this parent, on a number of occasions, her son came to her telling her she could not find the time, take the time.
But would it have made any difference? That's the issue.
Yeah, it would probably have made
any difference?
Because at least it would have made some difference with her child.
But she said that she was
the mother cared enough about him to go to the school. She told him to
forgive, baby. You got to forgive them for what they do.
Yeah, no, you don't. Saying, she did not go to the school and try to defend. You were saying that the principals, the teachers, and so forth, they didn't do anything and all that. Well, the mother didn't show any kind of concern by going to the school.
Whether she did or not, whether she could or not, those people that are in place in those schools ought to have enough decency about themselves to make sure that every child is treated correctly, treated better.
Did, but you don't know that
they didn't. They couldn't have.
Well, you don't know that because
why wouldn't you know that?
The mother, the parent has more influence over the child.
A 9-year-old gonna shoot himself because of how people treat him, and it had to be more than just the children treating him wrong.
But Dr. Brett, don't you think that a parent has more influence?
No, I don't think it, because there was one parent that had that influence went to the school, went to that school, talked to those people, had everything, told everything about her child, and they still didn't do anything about it. They still didn't do anything about it. And the child ended up killing himself, went in his mother's room, took her gun, and shot himself. That does not, she was involved.
She was involved right there, because you saying that now the mother had a gun where the child could get access to it. That's a problem in and of itself.
No, the problem how did the child get problem access? In itself is
that she went in the mother's room, got the gun, and killed himself.
But what I'm saying is, if you have a gun in the house, of course we would like for the parents to put the gun away, but she had it in a case. It was under her bed, and he went in there and took it and shot himself.
Well, how did the child know where the gun was?
I'm quite sure he had seen her. Most children with their little nosy selves are going to look at something and
No, but the thing
they saw.
about it
I'm
is
quite
this-
sure he seen her and put the thing in the gun.
The thing about it
but,
is,
but that the
when
issue.
my kids was growing up, I ain't had no guns around.
That's you. That's you. But I'm
Because-
talking. I'm talking about people
Because I'm
that
trying to teach
that
my kids
that
not to try to resolve
Well,
conflict with people.
people
by
who have
violence.
guns gonna have protection. They feel like they feel like they need protection. And
Well, what about Jesus?
what about guns?
No.
What about guns? Because
So you sound like these crazy folk out
no,
here.
I'm speaking of the fact. I'm speaking for people. I'm really speaking for people that
No, Dr. Brett, you talking
that.
about guns. You sound like these folk.
No,
who
no,
went
I'm
to
just.
the Capitol on January the 6th.
I'm speaking of our people
And they gonna overthrow the
need,
government and
that
everything
feel
because-
like they need protection
Well,
in
something
their
get
home,
elected.
not necessarily to go out and shoot anybody with a gun,
Well, I
but to
tell you
need
what- I tell
protection
you
in their
what,
home.
The
But if
best
you,
way to protect yourself in your home is have your security system
that's not even the best way to protect yourself in your home.
and have
Tell
you
the
some
truth.
cameras around your house.
That won't even work either. If a person wants to break in or kill you, whatever, and
Well,
you
I
have
tell
all
you
kinds
what,
of things.
the other night, our alarm went off accidentally or something. I don't know, a bird hit something or something happened, hit the window or something. But the police was there in about 2-3 minutes.
How about that? I wish they would. I wish they would do that in my community.
So-
They take about a whole hour before they come knocking on the door. Is everything be gone and
alarm
over
went
with?
off, and we had to tell them a false alarm.
That was
going
that.
on.
Well, your community is really nice because
Yeah,
it takes them
so-
about 40 or 50 minutes, maybe a whole hour to
What?
come to your house. But what I really want to is to say, really, is to we need to get more involved. Parents need
In
to
the
get more
educational
involved
development
in
of our
their children, and
Parents need to
and
stop
not just to
going to the
have
schools and
not
checking
just
on
to
their
have something on paper, and it's not being taken care of as it should be. It's on paper, but it's not doing. They're not taking care of our children, our black children in the public schools. They are being mistreated, and now when I say public schools, I'm talking about public integrated schools. And now
Well, in
Houston.
HISD,
Yeah,
it's
HISD, of course. Well,
90%
of
black
course,
and
yes,
Hispanic.
but that happened not to be what I'm speaking of children in HISD. I was speaking of children up in the northern states that's going through these hardships, and children in the deep south is going through these hardships, and they don't know how to cope with it as we learned how to cope with it when we were growing up. And the best thing was
So
for
what do
us
you
is that
think
we
is
weren't
the source?
integrated.
What do you think is the source of the problem then?
The source of the
You
problem
know,
is
because it was much more difficult.
source of the problem
when we
is-
were coming along,
No.
and we could cope with it, and
we could cope
there
with
are
it because
more-
we were in school with each other. That's the issue. Somebody's teaching these young children how not to get along. And it's their parents that's teaching these boys and girls that are white how to not to get along, how to use their supremacy to do whatever they wish to do, and they don't and get away with it. That's what I'm speaking of. I'm speaking of the fact that there is no rules and regulations in place to protect our children. That's what I'm speaking of. And I feel that that is really wrong. And of course, so far as Houston Independent School District is concerned, I feel that it's not good either. They are not as good as they ought to be when it comes down to our black children. A child can throw a pencil in the room and they go into detention. What kind of stuff is that? Or you fuss back with the teacher and say something out of place.
But do you think that the breakdown of family and what it is that is occurring with the development of a lot of our children growing up, where they're growing up?
I'm thinking it's a breakdown of children. I'm thinking it's the breakdown of people, adults. I'm thinking it's the breakdown of adults who have no patience, who have no love, that are in these public schools. And I think it's a breakdown of adults in the homes that have children, that they're teaching them how to be evil, how to hate one another, how to not to care about each other. I'm thinking about that. That's what I really am thinking about. And that even if they don't have God in place, there ought to be a understanding.
No,
that,
God is in place.
No, I'm talking about in their life.
Yeah.
They don't have
They may
God in
not
place in their
acknowledge.
life. And when I say don't have God in place in their life, that's the majority of the world today. Don't have
I mean,
God in the
they
place
don't
in their
have
life.
An acknowledgement.
Yeah, acknowledgement. I wanted to talk about, we got caught up there, but we want to talk about our God is the answer to everything. Let's just get to that. Let's get to that one.
God is the truth, and the truth is the light.
Yeah, He is the answer, you all. And we can go on and on about this, but we just want you to understand that God loves you. We love you too. Even though Bob and I sometimes do not agree, we love each other too. Yeah. Y'all take care. Remember this. Keep your paper in your car. Let's keep Houston clean. God loves you. Bye-bye.
Oh, that lady.
Running over, yeah, running over, running over, running over. Abundance, ooh, abundance, yeah, running over, hey.
I turned your mic down because I can hear y'all still talking.
Right, right.
And both